My two cats visited me after their death. It was nice and definitely not spooky. Posted by Ruka from the East Side. This happened several years ago, but I still think about it frequently, and I was wondering if anyone else has been visited by their pets after their passing. I used to have two black cats. They were brother and sister, and I had both of them since they were kittens. The female passed away when she was about 8 years old. There is a little crawl space accessible only through a closet door in the lowest level of my house. About a week after her passing, I heard a cat meowing from the crawl space. It wasn't unusual to find my cats down there from time to time. I opened the door and saw a black cat and assumed it was my other, still alive, male black cat, so I called the male cat's name. Someone from the stairs must have heard me and said the other cat was on the couch with them and had been there for a while. When I looked back in the crawl space, the other black cat was gone, and I know for a fact it never walked past me. The only way out. A few years later, the male cat passed. I had no other pets in the house. Several months after he passed, I was home alone, asleep. My kids were at their dad's. I was laying in bed, but I was awoken by the very distinct sound and feel of my cat hopping into my bed and walking around. At first, I just laid there, confused. When I realized what was happening, I laid there a little longer, enjoying his presence, but eventually got curious enough to turn the light on and feel around the bed. Nothing was there. I haven't been visited since, but have always kind of hoped they would return again. I grew up in a thin place. These are my stories. Posted by Beatnik Beelzebub. Edit. Hi guys, my bad on all the little mistakes. I'll try and catch them before I post next time. Also, I figure it might shed some light on the title to leave a little explanation of what a thin place is. Long story short, my understanding of a thin place is a Celtic term for an actual physical location where the veil between this world and the other is especially thin, where things may work differently or the veil may even slip from time to time. I have been debating posting this for a long time. Not out of fear or anything like that. Simply put, I did not know where to start. I'm not a writer, and I have so much to tell I couldn't think of how to begin. So for now, I will begin like this. I was born and bred on a rural road linking to a beach through fields reclaimed from the surrounding tidal bog. It was a funny sort of place. As I have gotten older, I have come to believe that if any place was imbued with a sense of the otherworldly, it was my home place. I would like to state right now for the record that I am not necessarily a believer in the paranormal per se. I know what I have seen, felt, and heard, but I'm not foolish enough to think that there couldn't be other explanations than the paranormal to all of my experiences. I just know that I do not have the answers. Next, I would like to say that everything I post will be my direct experience or the experiences of my mother or the tales told to me by my elderly neighbor who has lived in this area his entire life. He's 86 now. Down the line, I can go into more stories from my wider area. All of them from the horse's mouth, so to speak. Because there are a lot of stories and I'm doing this for fun, I was thinking of doing this as a little collection of stories. If you guys like it, you can let me know and feel free to give me tips on writing too. I badly need them. So, let's begin. I was born and bred on a small road connected to the beach of a coastal town. Once upon a time in the 50s and 60s, there had been a hotel and big dance hall down the beach, but that had been long burnt down by the time I came around. In my teen years, they rebuilt the hotel and even put an estate down the road, but more on that later. My home house is situated about half a mile from the sea. It was an amazing place to grow up. When the wind picked up, you could hear the ocean and taste the salt. Directly across the road, there was a small caravan park. More than a few of the stories I have involve this caravan park, which was maybe 1.5 acres large in a long, thin cut. Behind that caravan park was acres and acres of green fields, and connected to that park is my elderly neighbor Billy's house, and on my side of the road, we had plenty of neighbors spread out across the fields. Outside of the summer months, when the caravans would be full with familiar faces on holiday from the city, the area was quiet. So quiet that my brothers could hurl and I could play with my neighbors on the road all day with little issue or worry. Our house is a normal little bungalow, maybe 60 or 70 years old, with no kind of bizarre history attached. To the left of our house was a couple of acres off fields for cattle, same as across the road behind the caravans. Most of our neighbors are dairy farmers. Just a house and just fields, nothing more. Just a normal house on a normal road, yet for all the normality, something always felt odd. For all the plains of the place, for all the neighbors and the twinkling lights of houses in shouting distance, there is at once the most isolating loneliness and unsettling sensation of being watched that will wash over you. It didn't matter whether you were inside the house or out in the garden or down the road or in the fields. Out of nowhere, the shudder could run down your spine and your skin would prickle with goosebumps, and the place you lived every day of your life could all of a sudden feel very strange to you. It was worse at night, but very present during the day too. It was weird how the sense could invade the house. It wasn't a nice feeling. It was the feeling of being exposed. It always felt like someone was watching you. It wasn't just me. My older brother to this day is afraid to be in the house on his own, and when he does so, he will have all the lights of the house on. I remember kids being afraid to have sleepovers at my house, and as a teen, and well into my 20s, a lot of my friends would be afraid to walk out to their cars to leave at night. Even now, as a grown man, I could be walking over the road to call to Billy. I could be walking that 200 yards and out of nowhere, it'll hit me, that feeling. And I'll stop and look out across to low ditches over the vast green fields and see nothing. In fact, in the years since, I moved a couple of miles away with my partner. Whenever I return home, I'm cripplingly aware of the uncomfortable feeling of being watched all the time at home and don't feel comfortable there anymore. There seems to be a bit of an epicenter to the sensation. It runs in a straight line through the middle of the caravan park, through the front garden of my house, through my bedroom, which was at the front of the house, and on out through the back. The hallway was famously scary to all my friends, which is mad because, as I said, it's only a bungalow, so it's a small straight hallway. But for whatever reason, it doesn't have a nice feeling in that hallway. Before it was done up, it had two brown light ply doors on the left side that led to the bathroom and my brother's room. The two doors on the right led to my sister and parents' room, and a door directly at the bottom, which is the room I shared with my other brother until I got my sister's room when I was a little older. If you stood at the bathroom of the hall with all the doors closed, it was honestly freaky. Always reminded me of the hall in The Shining that the twins pop up on. Interestingly, there's a thing called a ley line which runs straight through my house on this path. This could be connected to the feeling, but I can't say because I know nothing about them. How I know about it is because I used to have my bed parallel to the window, and one day I came home to find my ma'am had moved it. She did this because a medium had told her that someone in her household was sleeping in the path of a ley line. She said spirits follow ley lines like a path, and their energy was crossing through the person sleeping in their way. This was not good for a person. It could cause them health problems. I've suffered with problems with my tummy most of my life, so after hearing this and connecting the dots, my mother moved my bed. If this was the cause of the problems, the damage is done, because my stomach still sucks. I feel like that invisible line has a lot to do with everything, because much of my experiences and odd feelings happened somewhere in the vicinity of that so-called line running through the land. For those knowledgeable in ley lines, please educate me on them. I think for tonight I will leave it at that. Know there are some stories to come. Treat this, if you will, as an introduction and me just getting into the swing of things. Thank you guys so much if you've read, and I hope to fill you in soon. This is only the beginning. The stage is set.